Hello, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews. Today I'm having a look at Crimson Company. This is the collector's box. Yeah, now this does say it's 1 to 4 players, but to me this is a 2-player game at heart. That is the main attraction to it, and it's definitely what I'm most interested in. So, that's the only thing I'm looking at when we do the setup, which you do right now. Alright, let's get this bad boy set up. The first thing, of course, you'll notice once I remove the rulebook and the big ass map is how empty it is. Yeah. Talk about that in a second. Let's flip it over here because this is the competitive mode. Good, I just needed to make sure. Of course, you flip like this over for each player. Then you can grab. This is sort of an area for coins. I, of course, have metal coins because I need my games to be decked out. So it's a small little batch here. Then you'll grab some random cancel cards and just put them down on the cancel area. So you have 3 out at a time with the pile ready to go. Then you can shuffle up your big ass deck of cards right here. Put it right here. Flip over the first 4 cards. Bam, and always the top card here as well will be flipped over. There we go, now you're ready to play. Well, actually, the first player starts with 3 coins, and the second player starts with 4, or that is, you know, a value of 4. And then basically you play over like 3 phases. The first phase is income phase, where you'll grab 3 coins for the first player, have 6 coins now. Then you have the recoup phase, where you, as the player, you can put this one down to be 3 ones instead. We'll put in a bid for any of these ones. Some of them have some, this one is a scoring. If you have few coins, then your opponent gain 2 strength on this one. Then you can destroy a card, which is the leader, but it's a 4. Just for the sake of if we pull on the bear. Now your opponent has an option. He can go in and make an offer, so he can, you know, also put this one in for some ones. And he will make an offer on you, spot you out, bam. Then all of the coins go into your account, and your opponent gets the card. You get nothing, and then you refill it, bam. If you roll the top card as always. And now it's your opponent's turn, who starts with income. And then he gets to make an offer, and if he wants, maybe let's say he wants this one, and you are not going to count, let's just say that. He then gets this one goes to the bank, and now he has 2 cards. We fill it, always we fill it. And then, you know, now we've gone through 2 of the phases twice here, but the third phase is play a card, and you can play a card into any lane you want. Let's say he did like this. You have to play all the cards. He did something like this. And then you'll keep on going. Let's say he buys this one, and this dude buys this one, and then maybe this guy gets 2 in here, just because I'm going to fill this one out real quick. Alright, let's say this right here. It ended over a couple of rounds here. Now this guy has 4 cards here. This is a scoring sort of. When one side of any castle has 4 cards, like here, it is time to now score it. Which basically is add all the points together. And then whoever has the most claim the castle for themselves, and a new castle is filled in. All the cards here are discarded. Now, of course, I didn't look at any of the abilities, but there would probably have been some abilities. First player with 3 castles win. And that's the back and forth of this game. Now there's a variant. All the castles can be flipped over, and they have an ability on them. Let's just take one random one after deploying a card into this lane. Flip one of your cards in this lane. So that's interesting on the first one, of course, but then when you deploy the second one, you could flip this one over. That is a permanent change to this lane, and it's no matter which side on it's on, of course. Now some of them have, like this one has a scoring effect, There was one that had an income effect, I think. No, but there's also some that's called an income effect. And some of the castles might also have a score or an income effect. And the castles are always scored first. Or their effect is always applied first and then the heroes. And that's the only variant I'm going to talk about. Let's get back to the table and talk about my final thoughts. There we are, that's the setup for 2-player and the little castle powers variant that is in it. There is a 3 to 6 player variant, there is a cooperative 2-player variant, there's a 2 versus 2 variant, and of course a solo player variant. I'm not gonna show you the setup of any of those variants, just know I'm not happy with them. This is very much a 2-player game and an interesting 2-player game, which I'm going to of course talk about in the gameplay. So the gameplay, I love it. I actually really like the gameplay of it, this thing where you have 4 on offer, you know what the next one is, so you can almost kind of be like, okay, I'm just gonna bid 1 because it's my turn, because I want to be sure to bid against him in case he takes that one, or I just want to have coins for that one for next turn, or whatever. You can sort of plan ahead. And it's of course a lot of people say it's tactical when it's reacting, because you are very much reacting, you just get to do it 1 or 2 turns ahead. But I like that back and forth, like, okay, that's a good card he's taking, I want to take it from him, but I'm giving him a lot of coins then. That's a very interesting dynamic. I've played it against my girlfriend quite a lot, obviously. I don't think she fully understands it, because quite easily I get a lot more coins than her, and like I just bid a little bit more than she can afford to bid to guarantee getting the card, because she can't defend it. If I bet 3 and she only has 2, there's nothing she can do. And then just allow her to spend her coin on subpar ones, and then I win easily. I don't know why she doesn't like this game. But yeah, I like that dynamic. And this thing about you need to have 4 and then you score it. What I don't like is that every card has an ability. It quite easily becomes underwhelming, some of the abilities, and constantly checking up on it. I think it would be more interesting if most of the cards had an ability, and then all of a sudden there shows up an 8 without any ability. Well, that's interesting. That is a very interesting one to have, I would say. And then there's some with the abilities. I think that would have been way better to do it like that. That you had like 1 through 3, which all had abilities, and you had like 4 and 5s that didn't have any abilities, except for the rare one. Because then you get a very interesting dynamic where the high scoring ones don't have an ability, lower scoring ones maybe they have a better ability. It's a lot of back and forth. You saw, for example, the bear is a 4-pointer, but if you have the least amount of points, you get to attack your opponent. That's a good 4-pointer ability. Then there's a bunch of them that are like, flip over any card and it's only 2 points. So it's kind of okay balanced in that one, but I think it was a bit better if they did something where the higher point cards didn't quite have abilities on them, except for like the bear that I showed there from time to time. That would have been better. I mean, yeah, the gameplay is very simple, but I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. Just not as much as I could. Like I've talked it up here about it, but to be honest, I mean, I've talked it up because I did enjoy that aspect. But you're also sitting and I don't know. It's difficult to say because you don't feel fully. I didn't feel fully invested in it throughout the entire game. Like as soon as you maybe have 2 castles, your opponent has 0, you're out the game. And it's still kind of exciting when you're very even, but you know so much ahead, and there's so many abilities. So I think the unpredictability of it is also what keeps me out of it. I like to be capable of looking a little bit forward, anticipating some stuff, keeping an eye on my opponent. And here I can keep an eye and say, okay, you have a 4 and 3 and the 2 in that lane, and so you want to have 1 more, but I have a lot of points. See what are we going to do? I'm going to block you. There's some choices I'm just not interested in. I think choices and the gameplay is pretty good. I'm just not getting into it, really. And I think maybe that's because of the next thing I'm going to talk about is theme, because theme is not in here. It's very abstract, so to say. I'm sure you get this fantasy one, but where it's not generic fantasy, it's very much its own world, there just really isn't a lot of immersion into it, I have to say. It is a good game, I just don't feel immersed and really into it. It's just kind of like, yeah, this one is better. I very often know that like one or two of them are better, so I'm gonna bid on them. And I really quickly know if my opponent, that card is too good for my opponent, I'm okay with giving them a few more coins if I get that card. So it very quickly becomes easy to make decisions. And you just don't feel that immersion anymore. The castle abilities does change it up a little bit, but then again you have some of them that are just broken. Like every time you play a new card, the one I showed you, you have to flip over another one. That's just a broken ability, that's so annoying. Then you have to just put a bunch of low ones in and the final one is just a big ass one. Unless you get some abilities on the cards, but again, there's no predictability really in it. You just hope that you get a card that flip them over again, or you just have to wait for a big one and bid that one on the fourth and final go. But then again, you might feel like you're wasting these big ones. So yeah, but of course the ability is to neglect that and get around that, yeah, but you have to get those abilities. So yeah, there's nitpicks right there. It's a good game, but there's so many nitpicks towards it. Both the thematic disconnect, a lack of immersion, and this fact of so much luck and just non-predictability. I like games where I can have some foresight and some idea, but still luck is a factor. I like Ticket to Ride, for example. The luck is definitely a factor in that one, but I do have some predictability and some idea of where I'm going. You know, if there are 5 cards out and we're playing a 2-player game, I know she's only going to remove at most 2 of those, so I have the 3 others ones. So, like, can I pick out at least 3 or 4 that I would like to get, because then I can look forward. Of course, in a 3-player game it gets shuffled up a little bit more, but you can very much anticipate multiple colors that you want to get, because then there's a high likelihood of you getting those colors right. Like if you're sitting there and going, I need red, I need red, I need red, I need red, well, there's a low chance. But if you're going that, I really need red, but get me some orange and some pink as well, that would be fine for future turns. All of a sudden you have a more lucky for that one. In this one you're going, okay, well, for example with that castle, like, okay, these are flipped over, can I get one where I can switch lanes, or maybe one I can flip over in cards? Something to help me in this specific situation. If I have the lowest flip over, okay, great, that's fucking amazing, that's not the power I needed. Of course there's 4 on offer, but it's very much this, like, you are sitting very easily into very specific situation where you need very specific cards. So there's a disconnect there for me. Anyways, let's talk about components. The board is actually very nice. It's up there amongst the Ticket to Ride boards, which I always say are the greatest. They're really great. It very much sets it up very nicely. But again, that's sort of it more of like a map rather than a battlefield, which I would love to see more like a battlefield. But this is more of a map. So you don't really have that thematic connection of we're fighting for a castle. No, we're playing on a map. Then you have the cards. The cards are good, nice quality. They feel good in the hand. They're sort of thick, but not too thick. You have the cardboard coins, which are the ones that came in the box, which are good enough. They're good thick cardboard. They pop out easily and they last. And with the metal coins, they have the sound, the clickly clang of metal. They don't have a weight to them at all. They're very, very light, and they don't really look that good. The cardboard coins looked way better than the metal coins do. I'll show you the cardboard, but the metal coins don't really look very good. The bulging of it looks like it wasn't on purpose. Like something went wrong, and it melted over or something. A little bit like my stomach when it falls over my legs because I'm fat. That's sort of what happens to the coins. These coins are fat. That's a very good analogy, I think. That's sort of what I feel from the look of these coins. They're sort of too fat. They're falling over their boundaries where they're supposed to be. And they just don't have any weight to them. You're throwing around a piece of paper almost. They just have the clings. Those I'm unhappy about. But the cards are good, and the board is very good. And the artwork is very nice, very distinct artwork. I can't recognize this in anything else. Maybe someone out there can, but I can't really recognize this in so much else. I'm just now thinking that freaking machine has been going for a long time. That's the dishwasher has been going for a very long time. Anyways, so the components are pretty good. Now, does it light? Well, on the box it says it is 14 and up. Players 1 through 4. It doesn't have a timestamp. See, that is, I had not noticed that before. It doesn't have a timestamp. Why doesn't it have a timestamp? Because it varies vastly. The cooperative game is very different from the competitive 2-player game, which is very different from the 2v2 competitive game. It's very different from the free-for-all 3 to 6 player game. Wait a minute, it says 1 to 4 on the box. Why is there a 3 to 6 player variant then? Huh. Well, that was interesting. What's in it? That there's a 3 to 6 player. So it lies to you on the box. This is the first one where I can categorically say, and it's not just my opinion, I can categorically say the rulebook and the box does not agree. And because it does work at 5 and 6, the box lies to you. It straight up lies to you. It also lies to you because this should just have been a 2-player game. It works really, really well as it's just a 2-player game. That's what I like. The other variants aren't that good. It should just been 2-player game. They wanted a larger player count. 14 and up. Well, as long as they know English, you can go 12, 13, I think. But it is a little bit complicated, the actions and playing the cards together correctly. That's the complicated part, is all the abilities. So you need to have an understanding of English. Yeah. And the time is not on the box, which is just a bad sign, because you have such a difference in time. You would have to put down 30 to like 200 minutes. Not really, but it's a large difference between the time it takes to play these games. Very unhappy about that. And categorically it lies to you. So, big down for that one. By the way, when talking about components, I don't often talk about the box, because usually I'm happy about the box. Did you see how much empty space was in this one? Now, Thomas did a video on this one a long time ago. We talked about the fact that they just wanted this map in. This map could have been a teeny bit smaller. I don't think it really could have been smaller in this aspect, but it could have definitely been smaller in this aspect, right? Didn't need to be as wide, but long. It's probably around there it needs to be. And you could have filled in, I don't know, this size box instead. And you could have done some better storage solution for the cards, because the cards obviously fall in under the cardboard here. This is just, and you know, I expected the collector's box to come with a bunch of cards. I don't even take up one full compartment. I will split up some of the cards, but if I put all the cards together, first of all, it is wider than the cards. First bad thing. This thing, it is going to slide underneath it. It always does. Every time you have one of these, a lot of games that have these, they slide under. And I don't even take up one entire thing. It didn't need to be this big. This is an overproduction on the box, and I usually don't mind that because I love when a game is really, really produced and really, really beautiful. But when it makes so little sense, that's when I dislike it. It doesn't need to be a Ticket to Ride box. It could have been a, what's that called? A game called Pandemic size box. A little bit shorter, maybe even. Pandemic size box. It could have just been that. No, massive box, looking good, but you don't even fill it. The base game had this many cards, an expansion has this many cards. There are 4 expansions in this box. Would you believe that? No, you wouldn't. There is. Jesus Christ. My final score is, I'm going to base it mostly on the gameplay and what I get out of that. The component, the oversized box, not going to be complaining that. I'm going to give it an 8. Which is good, because I really think it is good in the simplicity of gameplay. It's just all the card abilities and immersion. That's where I really fall off from it. But if you just look at the gameplay, the 3 phases of play, which is income, recruitment, and playing, and then of course scoring. So there's kind of 4. The deploying is of course the 3rd one, and then 4th is scoring. Those 4 phases, over and over again, just makes a pretty good game. Then there's all the small niches. Now, is this staying in my collection? No, it is not. I'm actually doing a review today because I'm getting ready to sell it, and I wanted to do a review before I do. I'm getting rid of this game. It doesn't get played enough because it's a 2-player game. I don't want to bring a 2-player game to my meets because we're a lot of people. Girlfriend doesn't want to play it with me. My mom doesn't. I don't know anyone who would want to play this game with me. And also, I don't really feel like playing it. When you look at it, it's like, I don't really feel like playing it actually. Like, I'm not that interested in playing it. It's not what I want to get to the table. So it's leaving my collection. But it's an 8 out of 2. It is a good game actually. You just have to like the things that I disliked, I think. Anyway, that's another review done. This time high score but negative overall, so that's interesting. I do too many positive reviews. This was a negative one. Thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.